Coming up on the Rockbridge Report, Lexington's city manager of over 4 years resigns.
And Lexington City Council will hear from neighbors of the Enfield Water Tower tonight about a plan to turn the tower into apartments. And across the pond, tensions are running high as Britain's planned exit from the European Union nears.
The latest on New Zealand gun laws following the tragic Christchurch shooting.
And not only does today signify the start of March Madness, but it is also National Poetry Day.
All that and more, starting now.
Live from the campus of Washington and Lee University with news from Rockbridge County, this is the Rockbridge Report.
Good evening and welcome to the Rockbridge Report. I'm Adid Ahmed.
And I'm Catherine Young. Lexington City Manager Noah Simon is leaving at the end of next month. He's taking a job in Westlake, Texas as the new assistant town manager. Simon said this move is an opportunity for his wife and daughter to be closer to family. He has served as Lexington's city manager for more than 4 years. Lexington's next city manager faces the challenge of increasing the city's tax base without raising the current tax rate.
Tensions have been running high as Britain's planned exit from the European Union nears. The British government has asked as the EU for an extension for Brexit, which as of now will take place on March 29th. But British Prime Minister Theresa May has requested an extension until June 30th.
Well, I'm here today to discuss with fellow leaders our request for a short extension of Article 50 to the end of June. As I said yesterday, this delay is a matter of personal regret to me, but a short extension would give Parliament the time to make a final choice that delivers on the result of the referendum.
May has said she does not want the UK to take part in the European Parliament elections. If Brexit is pushed back no later than May 22nd, the EU would avoid potential problems from the UK not participating in the elections while it's still technically a member of the EU. New Zealand is attempting to move forward after last week's shooting rampage. Today, the New Zealand government announced a ban on military-style, semi-automatic firearms and high-capacity magazines. This ban comes just a week after such weapons were used in attacks on 2 mosques in the city of Christchurch that killed 50 people and injured many more. But, as tragic as this day was, authorities say it could have been much worse. John Lawrence reports.
The man accused of opening fire in 2 mosques may have planned a third shooting.
We strongly believe we stopped him on the way to a further attack. So lives were saved by our staff.
A 28-year-old Australian is charged with murder. Additional charges are expected.
Speak the names of those who were lost, rather than the name of the man who took them. He may have sought notoriety, but we in New Zealand will give him nothing, not even his name.
Authorities say they are gathering all the information needed for prosecution.
Of course, we would like to do that as quickly as possible, but it must be done as professionally and accurately as possible.
As the investigation continues, funerals for shooting victims were held Wednesday, local time.
We are talking to each other, we console each other, we support each other, and we grieve together, as a community.
Everybody is grieving here, and from the Prime Minister down to young children in schools.
The country will hold a 2-minute silence to honor the victims of the massacre on Friday.
Let New Zealand be a place where there is no tolerance for racism, ever. And that's something we can all do.
I'm John Lawrence reporting.
One of the biggest aircraft manufacturers is under the microscope. The U.S. Justice Department has subpoenaed Boeing. This comes after 2 Boeing planes crashed in similar fashions within the last 5 months. John Lawrence reports.
Boeing is being probed.
This is no small potatoes. Enormous amounts of taxpayer money that could be spent on other things.
The Justice Department is investigating Boeing's certification and marketing for its 737 MAX planes. 2 have crashed since October. The more recent was Ethiopian Airlines Flight 302 earlier this month.
We're united with our airline customers, international regulators, and government authorities in our efforts to support the most recent investigation, understand the facts of what happened, and help prevent future tragedies.
But sources briefed on the matter say the DOJ's criminal investigation started after the October crash of a Lion Air flight in Indonesia.
What happens, in fact, is that the measures taken by Boeing after the first accident were not enough to avoid the second accident.
Analysts say insufficient training was likely a factor.
It must have been just horrifying in the cockpit for these professionals. I mean, it's been stated, well, it should have been a memory item. Well, clearly it wasn't.
Also, a separate investigation is looking into whether Acting Defense Secretary Patrick Shanahan violated ethics rules by boosting products from Boeing, his former employer. He denies the claim.
If that is true, he needs to be fired, and we need to find out why this happened.
I'm John Lawrence reporting.
Tamara Lanier is suing Harvard University over portraits of 2 slaves. She says she hopes her lawsuit sparks a national reckoning with its history of racism. She said yesterday that her case is important because, in her words, it will test the moral climate of this country.
This is not just a lawsuit for Renty and his descendants. In many ways, it's a lawsuit for all the descendants of slaves in America.
Lanier's lawsuit says Harvard has wrongly withheld and profited from 1850 portraits of 2 slaves who Lanier says are her ancestors. Harvard says it has not been served with the lawsuit and is not in a position to comment.
President Trump continues his attacks on the late Senator John McCain, this time over the senator's funeral. CNN's Joe Johns reports.
Well, you better love me. I kept this place open.
Standing before workers at a military tank factory, President Trump once again launching into a tirade about Senator John McCain, a Vietnam War hero who died of brain cancer nearly 7 months ago.
So I have to be honest, I've never liked him much.
The president taking credit for McCain's funeral and complaining that he was never thanked.
I gave him the kind of funeral that he wanted. I didn't get thank you, that's okay. We sent him on the way.
The president was not invited to the senator's funeral, and Meghan McCain has said she was surprised that the president's daughter and son-in-law attended.
It made me uncomfortable, and I hope I made them uncomfortable.
Meghan McCain tweeting this photo of herself Wednesday night with the message, "Nothing breaks me," a reference to the moving story she told at her father's funeral about being thrown off her horse as a little girl.
I look back across that time and see the expression on his face when I climbed back up and rode again. And I see the pride and love in his eyes as he said, "Nothing is going to break you."
Despite the president's vitriol, the majority of Republicans remaining silent. McCain's close friend, Senator Lindsey Graham, choosing not to condemn President Trump.
I think the president's comments about Senator McCain hurt him more than they hurt the legacy of Senator McCain. I'm going to try to continue to help the president.
The Washington Post reports that some close to the president have attributed his frustrations to worrying over the looming report from special counsel Robert Mueller, which the president said Wednesday he wants publicly released.
Let it come out. Let people see it. That's up to the Attorney General.
Mr. Trump claiming that he should not have to deal with the investigation due to his, quote, tremendous electoral college victory.
I got 63 million votes, and now somebody just writes a report. I think it's ridiculous, but I want to see the report.
Coming up after the break, a look at how flooding throughout the Midwest is affecting communities.
And later, sports reporter John Ike has the latest on March Madness.
Certainly not the best weather day here in Lexington with rain early this morning. However, we should see some improvement in the next couple days with some beautiful weather rolling in just in time for fancy dress on Saturday. All that coming up next on the Rockbridge Report.
Flooding throughout the Midwest is expected to continue throughout the week in several states as high water flows down the Missouri River. Swollen rivers have already breached more than a dozen levees in Nebraska, Iowa, and Missouri, according to the Army Corps of Engineers.
Guys, this whole area behind me will soon be covered in water. You can see the water's already coming up through the ground. The Missouri River is being contained by this levee right here, and if you look at it, water is already starting to trickle over that levee. The river is supposed to crest 2 feet higher than the current levels.
I'm just pulling everything out, making piles, and what goes, goes.
For 1 week, Deb Hooper has been packing.
Trying to decide where to put stuff.
All that's left is the pantry. Her appliances and water heater are already gone.
Last night they come and told me it was like 2 inches below the levee. You better get out. And I'm like, no, there ain't no water yet.
She prefers to hold out to the end.
I have packed so many times and then the water didn't get in my house.
She'll store several things in the attic.
So we just set stuff in, put the thing down, hand up.
The levee is 2 miles from her home. If it breaks, she'll have minutes to escape.
It broke straight across from me, and I came in and the roads were fine. In less than 45 minutes, I was driving in water to get out.
Bean Lake is at normal levels, but the water could rise in a dramatic way. After several floods, she's learned the ropes. A hose secures her swing set. A cord keeps her shed from floating away.
It's getting down to the nitty-gritty now, though.
The water could reach near her ceiling.
It's a risk you take when you live on a lake or close to the river.
But she says the peace, quiet, and wildlife make it worth it.
Stick it out and pray for the best.
This aqua barrier goes as far as the eye can see and will ensure that the KCP&L power plant up north remains safe. The water is expected to crest sometime between Thursday and Friday. The power plant should be fine, but it's these lower lands that will be inundated. In Platte County, I'm Brian Johnson, KMBC 9 News.
So yesterday was the equinox, which means that spring is in full swing.
But it's a little cold and a little rainy. Is this going to stick around?
Yes, it was a tough day for weather here in Lexington with some showers moving through early this morning. However, that is not here to stay, and it'll change this weekend and early into next week. Let's take a look at the numbers. We will start with our live shot of a neighborhood here in Lexington, Virginia. As I said, not the best weather day here in Lexington as scattered showers moved through the area early this morning. We maintained a high of 51 today, so pretty typical for a rainy day in March with a low of 38. The barometric pressure at 29.8 inches of mercury, a little 6-mile-per-hour wind speed coming in, and then a very high humidity, 97%, thanks to that rain early this morning. And we'll take a look at the local radar. Plenty of rain moving through the Central Virginia area, hitting our neighbors pretty hard. Lexington impacted, not as hard as our neighbors. And we will move on to our local conditions. Roanoke, the high today at 55 degrees. Everyone else just under 50. Lynchburg at 49, Buena Vista at 46, Charlottesville at 43, and Stanton the low 33 and rainy. And we will finish up with our 5-day forecast. The weather expected to improve immensely in the coming days. 52 tomorrow and sunny. Saturday, fancy dress here at W&L. The weather should be good, 52 and sunny as well. Sunday, we're going to get that typical spring weather, 64 and sunny, and that will continue into Monday. Even though it'll be cloudy, we will still be in the 60s. And then Tuesday, we go back to our rainy weather, but a high of 49. So very typical for March here in Virginia, and we can enjoy it while we have it. That's all for the weather. Adit and Catherine, back to you guys.
Coming up after the break, reporter Grayson Duran takes us live from outside of Enfield Water Tower, which might turn into apartments.
And later, a look at 6 men who might become first spouse if their wives end up in the White House. All that and more next. In local news, Lexington City Council will hear from neighbors of the Enfield Water Tower tonight. A developer wants to convert the water tower into apartments. He also wants to build homes nearby. Grayson Duran joins us live near the old water tower with this report. Grayson?
The City Council meeting is scheduled for tonight at 8. Neighbors will have the chance to voice their opinions on developer Edwin Gaskin's plan. He wants to build at least 4 multifamily units within the unused water structure right behind me. He also plans on building about 4 new single-family homes. City officials say that if the sale goes through, this will add to the city's tax base. One neighbor that I spoke with said he is concerned about the safety of the structure. Another neighbor said he is very worried that he will lose access to one of his favorite hiking spots. The meeting will be held at Waddell Elementary School tonight. Reporting live, I'm Grayson Duran for the Rockbridge Report. Back to you, Adit.
Rockbridge County High School senior Danielle Crawford broke a school shot put record at a national meet on March 8th. Crawford finished 14th out of 44 athletes with a throw of 38 feet and 10 1/2 inches. In February, she became the school's first female indoor track state champion in 25 years. Crawford will compete at the first outdoor track meet of the season on Wednesday at Monticello High School.
On the national scene, history could be made in the 2020 presidential election, and it all has to do with a specific title. CNN's Kate Bennett introduces us to the 6 men who might become first spouse.
A new crop of diverse, different Democratic presidential candidates. But 6 of them have one thing in common. Should they win, their husbands would become the very first spouse. Hillary Clinton had to once consider what former President Bill Clinton could be called.
Bill has said that some of his friends from Scotland suggested First Laddie.
This time around, even more options for a man to make history in the East Wing.
So these are my guys.
Elizabeth Warren, perhaps unsurprisingly, didn't follow the traditional norms when she decided Bruce Mann, a professor of law at Harvard, was the one. She asked him to marry her.
We've been married a long time, and it's always been an adventure. So this is just another one.
Pete Buttigieg, mayor of South Bend, Indiana,
Chastity
is not only the first openly gay presidential candidate, he's also a newlywed, marrying husband Chasten Buttigieg just last year.
I married a teacher, so I married up. You know, that intimate thing in our lives exists by the grace of a single vote on the U.S. Supreme Court.
Chasten, who at 29 is the youngest of the potential first spouses, is a constant and vocal supporter of his husband's candidacy.
I'm really excited for the country to get to know him on a much larger scale.
Also in the honeymoon phase, Hawaii Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard, who married husband Abraham Williams in 2015.
And action.
Abraham is a cinematographer. The two met when he volunteered to shoot Gabbard's political ads. He proposed while they were riding the waves, surfing in Hawaii. Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar's husband John Bessler already has experience as a political spouse.
And he said, well, the Senate spouses are having a baby shower for Jim Webb's wife, and I'm going. The world has changed.
Klobuchar married John, a lawyer and law professor, in 1993. The two have a grown daughter named Abigail. Some, like Senator Kirsten Gillibrand's husband, Jonathan, are more behind the scenes. Gillibrand met her British-born financier husband on a blind date in New York City. The two eventually moving upstate to raise their 2 young sons, and so he could accommodate her political ambitions.
There's not a lot of venture capital in upstate New York. And so when he said yes, it was just a very huge opportunity for me as a person to start our family there.
When California Senator Kamala Harris married lawyer Douglas Emhoff in 2014, she took on a new role, stepmother to his 2 grown children.
They call me Mamala.
Harris credits Doug with being her support system in the political whirlwind.
I don't know if we're ready for a first lady named Doug. I don't know.
He's very much enjoying being the spouse of.
He is. He's having fun with it.
He's very secure.
Kate Bennett, CNN, Washington.
A surprise statement from President Trump. He said Wednesday he would be okay with Special Counsel Robert Mueller's report being released to the public. At the same time, the president is escalating his public feud with the husband of one of his top advisors, Kellyanne Conway. CNN's Pamela Brown has more.
No collusion, no collusion.
For the first time, President Trump today claiming he wants the world to see Special Counsel Robert Mueller's impending report.
Let it come out. Let people see it. That's up to the Attorney General.
That coming right before he returned to his usual litany of complaints about the investigation. First, suggesting Mueller's report is coming as a surprise.
It's sort of interesting that a man out of the blue just writes a report. I got 63 million votes. And now somebody just writes a report? I think it's ridiculous, but I want to see the report.
Then attacking Mueller himself, claiming Mueller was denied a job at the FBI the day before his appointment as special counsel.
I told him he wouldn't be working at the FBI. And then the following day they get him for this? I don't think so. I don't think people get it.
Mueller not his only target. Trump also launching attacks against Kellyanne Conway's husband, conservative attorney George Conway, after he questioned Trump's mental fitness and claimed the president had personality disorders.
He's a whack job, there's no question about it, but I really don't know him. I think he's doing a tremendous disservice to a wonderful wife. Kellyanne is a wonderful woman.
Trump going further on Twitter. George Conway, often referred to as Mr. Kellyanne Conway by those who know him, is very jealous of his wife's success and angry that I, with her help, didn't give him the job he so desperately wanted. George Conway's response? The president is extremely juvenile and boorish. For her part, Kellyanne Conway taking the president's side.
March Madness officially kicks off today, and we have everything you need to know about your favorite Virginia teams. And a baseball star departs the sport after 19 seasons. We'll tell you about his emotional departure next.
So today is the day March Madness is underway.
What team are you excited to see play, John Ike?
I'm excited for my hometown team, the Florida State Seminoles. I have them going all the way, so I'm glad they beat Vermont today because my bracket isn't busted yet. Let's get into some March Madness. The first real taste of the action started today and will continue throughout tonight. Reigning champion Villanova will play St. Mary's tonight at just past 7. Michigan, last year's runner-up, will also be on the court. If you're keeping an eye on those Virginia schools, though, Old Dominion plays third-seeded Purdue tonight at 9:50. The winner will either play Villanova or St. Mary's. Tomorrow, one-seeded UVA will play Gardner-Webb, a 16th seed at just after 3 p.m. The winner takes on either Oklahoma or Ole Miss. And the 12th-seeded Liberty Flames will play 5th seed Mississippi State tomorrow night around 7:30. And check this out, the winner either plays St. Louis or Virginia Tech, a game with 2 Virginia schools. 8th-seeded VCU will also be on tomorrow night against 9th-seeded Central Florida at 9:40. The winner will likely take on the number 1 overall seed in the tournament, Duke. And 4th seed Virginia Tech is on against 13th seed St. Louis at just before 10. And as we just said, that could be a matchup of Virginia schools with Liberty and Tech. UVA, though, is one of the teams to watch throughout this tournament, alongside North Carolina, Gonzaga, Michigan State, and the number 1 seed overall, Duke. After 19 Major League Baseball seasons, 45-year-old baseball star Ichiro Suzuki has played his final game with the league. He played his last game in the Tokyo Dome, in the same country where his professional career began. He received a roaring ovation as he exited the packed dome in the bottom of the 8th inning. The 10-time All-Star reached his 3,000th hit in 2016, an achievement only 31 other players have claimed to. And in local sports, Perry McClure baseball beat Fleming 6-4 on Monday. The team will play Pocahontas County at Saturday at home. The Perry McClure softball team lost their game against the Riverheads yesterday 6-0. They'll get a chance to redeem themselves in a game against Rockbridge County High School tomorrow at 5 p.m. The RCHS baseball team is currently playing Allegheny and Covington. They have a chance to take another victory after winning Tuesday's game against Northside, 13-8. The RCHS softball team is also playing Allegheny today before their rival game with Perry McClure tomorrow. That's all for sports. Back to you, Catherine and Adit.
It's a day to speak in rhyme, at least for a time. That is to say, it's World Poetry Day. The United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization dubbed March 21st World Poetry Day in 1999. Its goal is to remind us all that people in the world, in all corners of the world, share the same questions and feelings. At its heart, poetry is the pure expression of the human spirit and creative mind. It takes all shapes and forms, from Thoreau's musings on nature to Tupac Shakur's reflections of the thug life. It's all poetry. It doesn't matter if you write your own haiku, invite friends over to a poetry slam, or jam your favorite music. If you convey or receive honest words about life, feelings, or the universe, you're participating in World Poetry Day. And no, you don't have to rhyme it for it to be a poem.
That's all for the Rockbridge Report. Join us for a live news update next Tuesday at 3:30.
For news anytime, visit our website at rockbridgereport.wlu.edu.